Hello and welcome back to Attiny85. In this video, I'm going to show you how to make an LED PC fan torch fake flame with using an Attiny85 microcontroller. Let's get started. And these are the items you're going to need to make for this project. The items you're going to need: synthetic silk, a DC input jack, an Attiny85 microcontroller, an 8-pin IC socket holder, a buck converter, 4 yellow LEDs, 4 red LEDs, a Perfboard, a 12-volt power supply, a PC cooling fan, and a 3D printed housing. Now let's go and assemble this project and let's get started. First, I'm going to take the 8-pin IC socket holder and place it into the Perfboard. Next, clamp it down. Solder in one pin. And as you can see, it's not flush with the board. Take your finger, press down on the 8-pin IC socket holder, remelt the solder. And there we go, it is now flush with the board. Next, solder in the rest of the pins. And there we go, it should look just like this. Next, take a black and red wire, and take the red wire, which represents positive, and place it next to pin 8. Clamp it down. Bend the wire over to pin 8. Solder it into place and solder bridge it to pin 8. Next, take the black wire, which represents negative, and place it next to pin 4. Clamp it down, bend over the wire over to pin 4. Solder it into place and solder bridge it to pin 4. There we go, should look just like this. Next, take 8 negative wires and connect them all over to pin 4. Place one in. Clamp it down, bend over the lead, solder it into place, and solder bridge it to pin 4, and I'll repeat the same process 7 more times, and it should look just like this. Next, I'm going to take these 8 anode wires, and I want to connect them over to pin 5, 6, and 7. Take the first one, place it over to pin 5, clamp it down, bend the wire over, solder bridge it to pin 5, another wire to pin 6, solder bridge it to pin 6, and 7, and there, should look just like this. Next, take the Attiny85 microcontroller and place it into the 8-pin IC socket holder. Place it in just like this. Next, I'm going to take the buck converter and I want to connect the input of the Attiny85 circuit to the output of the buck converter. Connect the positive input to the positive output. Clamp it down. Solder it into place, and I'll take the negative input and connect it to the negative output. Place it in, clamp it in place, and now solder it into place. And there, should look just like this. Next, I want to connect the DC input jack and place it inside of the housing. And what I need to do first is drill a hole inside the housing, so that way I can place a DC input jack into it. And I'll take the DC input jack and place it into the hole. And as you can see, it's a perfect fit. Next, take a positive negative wire and connect it to the input of the buck converter. Place a positive to positive. Clamp it in place, and I'll solder it into place. Same thing for the negative. Cut off the excess. Next, I'm going to take the PC cooling fan and connect it to the input of the buck converter. Connect positive to positive. Wrap the wires together and connect the negative to negative and wrap the wires together. And I'll solder the two positives together and the two negatives. Next, I'm going to take the DC input jack. This pin's positive, which will connect to the positive. This pin's negative, which will connect to the negative. Solder the negative to negative and the positive to positive. And there, the circuit is almost complete. Next, I'm going to work on the LEDs, and as you can see, all of the LEDs look identical. What I need to do is take a 3-volt button cell battery and touch all of the LEDs. Looking at the colors, you can see that this one right here is the yellow one. Take this yellow LED and put it in the yellow pile. And this LED right here is a red one, and then take this LED and put it in the red pile. And as you can see, I successfully separated the LEDs. I have the red and yellow. Next, solder tin all of the LEDs. And there, all of the LEDs are now solder tinned. Next, I'm going to take the circuit and place it inside of the housing. Take the Attiny circuit and place it in the middle. Take the buck converter and place it to the side. And then take the DC input jack and put it back inside the hole. Make a quick test, spin the fan blades, and as you can see, it doesn't touch any of the wires. Next, I'm going to take some hot glue and glue everything into place. And there we go, should look just like this. Next, I'm going to take an LED, solder the cathode of the LED to the negative wire, and I'll solder one of the signal wires over to the anode of the LED. And there, should look just like this. And as you can see, I have the yellow and red LEDs soldered into place. Now I'm going to take the PC cooling fan and put it in place. And what I need to do is figure out the position of these LEDs so that way I know where they can be placed. I want to place them just underneath the housing so you can't see them from the outside, and I want to bend the LED so that way the LED light can shine directly onto the synthetic silk. This position right here looks very good, and as you can see, it'll shine directly to the synthetic silk. Next, I'm going to take the LED and loop it underneath the housing. Doing this will prevent the wires from getting caught on the blades, because doing this will push the wires down. Next, take some hot glue and glue the LED into place. And there, the two LEDs are glued into place, positioned perfectly. And I'll repeat the same process with the rest of the LEDs. And there, should look just like this. And I'll take the PC cooling fan and put it into place. And now let's go ahead and test it out. Plug it in. And as you can see, the LEDs light up and the fan blade spins without getting caught on any wires. Excellent. Next, I'm going to take the synthetic silk and cut off a piece. And place it on the PC cooling fan. Fold it over and cut it in half. And there we go, I have two pieces. This step right here may not be necessary, but what I'm going to do is just simply draw out a flame. And I'll cut out the flame. And there, I have my two flames. Make two halfway cuts of both of these flames down the middle like this and this. Doing this will allow me to link the two flames together. Place them on top of each other. Fold one side over. Loop it together. Fold it over together. And now keep it together like this. Next, I'm going to take the two pieces of silk and I want to connect each edge of the silk on each corner of the PC cooling fan. Glue it into place. And it should look just like this. And I'll repeat the same process on the opposite side. And it should look just like this. Plug it in to see if it works. And as you can see, it doesn't work very well. Two possibilities: that the flames maybe are too heavy, or there's not enough airflow. A new idea that may work is a cutout for little flames because they're smaller and lighter, and the idea is to place them on the corner going along the side right here, because that's where the most airflow happens. Take some hot glue and put some hot glue over the parts. Take a little flame and glue it in place. A few experiments later, and I realized there's not enough airflow. What I've done is drilled some holes in the bottom of the housing, which will then allow more airflow to flow underneath the fan, which will then allow the flames to work a lot better. Now let's go ahead and plug it in and see how this looks. And as you can see, it's a very big improvement. Doing exactly what I want. Although, I wish I had a little bit stronger airflow. However, this looks very nice. And as you can see, these LEDs are making tiny dots on the flames. That doesn't look very good, so what I need to do is cut off the tip of the LEDs. Doing this will allow the LED light to disperse more evenly. Carefully cut off the tip of the LEDs to make the tips flat. There we go, just like that. And now do the same thing on the rest of the LEDs. And there, as you can see, this looks a lot better. The LED light disperses more evenly, which makes the flames look a lot better. This will make it look more realistic. And as you can see, this looks very nice. Now let's see how this looks in the complete darkness. Plug it in. So far, it looks nice. And now complete darkness. As you can see, this looks very nice. This actually looks very realistic. Much better in the dark. And in my opinion, much better in person. On camera, it looks good, but in person, it looks much better. And what I also like is that the holes on the bottom look very nice, because to me that actually looks like grill holes, or it looks like there's actually coals in the bottom of this housing. So you have flames on top and coals on the bottom. That actually looks very nice. Gives it sort of a barbecue effect. And now, of course, changing camera angles will allow you to see it much better. The above view looks okay, but the side views look much better. This actually looks very realistic. And there you have it. Now you know how to make your very own LED PC fan torch flame with using an Attiny85 microcontroller and a few other simple components. Thank you for watching SciTech Tech. I hope you learned something new, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and of course click on the bell icon to be notified for future SciTech Tech videos. To the next tech. Goodbye.